Dad's retirement dream required $80,000 and my apartment as collateral. The family called me heartless for saying no. 6 months later, he called to thank me. Part 1. A lifetime of someday. My father has been chasing dreams since before I was born. When I was 7, it was a restaurant. He'd bought cookbooks, sketched floor plans on napkins, calculated how many covers he'd need on a Saturday night to break even. The restaurant never opened. When I was 12, it was an auto repair shop. He'd talked about buying equipment, renting a space near the highway where commuters would see it, building a reputation for honest work. The shop never materialized. At 16, while I was stocking shelves at a grocery store to save for college, he was planning a furniture store. Then a consulting firm. Then an import business. Then something involving cryptocurrency that I never fully understood. Every few years, a new dream. Every dream, unfunded and unrealized. I don't say this to mock him. I watched him leave for that logistics company every morning for 32 years. I watched him come home tired, frustrated, diminished by meetings where his ideas were ignored, by promotions that went to younger colleagues with shinier degrees, by a boss who called him reliable as if that were an insult disguised as praise. Reliable meant predictable. Reliable meant safe to overlook. He'd sit at the dinner table and say things like, "Someday I'll be my own boss. Someday I'll show them all what I can do." My mother would nod supportively. I'd listen and wonder when someday would arrive. Someday never came. Until now, apparently. Someday is finally here, and it's asking for my apartment. I'm 27 years old, and everything I have, I built alone. That's not a complaint, it's context. My parents couldn't afford to help with college, couldn't contribute to a down payment, couldn't co-sign loans. They had their own mortgage, their own bills, their own limitations. I understood that. I never resented it. So I started working at 16. Stocked shelves. Tutored classmates. Did data entry. Saved obsessively while my friends spent freely. Got through college with scholarships, part-time jobs, and a mountain of ramen noodles. Landed a job in IT support after graduation. Not glamorous, but stable. Kept saving. At 25, I bought a small apartment. 1 bedroom, outdated kitchen, nothing fancy. But it cost $136,000, and I paid it off in 2 years of aggressive payments. By 27, I owned it free and clear. No mortgage. No debt. Just mine. That apartment represents 11 years of work. 11 years of discipline when I wanted to splurge. 11 years of saying no to trips and cars and expensive dinners because I had a goal. The apartment isn't just property. It's proof. Proof that careful planning works. Proof that I can build something real. That's why I'm protective of it. Not because I'm materialistic. Because it's the only safety net I have. The family meeting happens on a Sunday afternoon. My father calls me the day before. His voice is different, lighter, almost vibrating with energy. "Come to the house tomorrow. Your mother and I have something to discuss with you. Something important." I arrive to find him practically pacing. My mother is sitting at the kitchen table with tea, watching him with an expression I can't quite read, something between hope and worry. "I've found it," he says before I even sit down. "The opportunity I've been waiting for my whole life." My heart sinks a little. I've heard variations of this speech before. But he's 59 now, and there's something more urgent in his eyes. More desperate. "A franchise opportunity," he continues. "A cleaning service business. Proven model, territory available, training included. Professional-grade services for homes and offices. This is it. This is my chance to finally be my own boss before I retire." I sit down across from my mother. "Okay. Tell me about it." The details come rushing out. The franchise has been operating for 15 years. They have territories across 3 states. The business model is proven: commercial and residential cleaning, regular contracts, repeat customers. The franchisor provides training, marketing support, proprietary systems for scheduling and invoicing. It's not some fly-by-night operation. I ask questions. Practical ones. My father seems almost annoyed by them, but he answers. Franchise fee, $45,000. Total startup cost, approximately $80,000, including equipment, a wrapped van, initial marketing, and operating capital. Projected first-year revenue, $150,000, according to the franchise disclosure document. Projected profit margins, 30%. My father's experience in cleaning services, none, but the franchise provides comprehensive training. I keep my face neutral, but the math starts running in my head. $80,000. No industry experience. 60 years old in a few months. Where are you getting $80,000? I ask. My father exchanges a glance with my mother. Then he sits down across from me. I've been saving, he says, for years. Your mother and I have about $20,000 put away. It's not enough, but it's a start. This is news to me. I didn't know they'd managed to save anything substantial. 32 years of feeling underpaid and overlooked, and they'd still squirreled away $20,000. That represents real sacrifice. I'm planning to take early retirement in 6 months, he continues. Reduced pension, but I'll have time to dedicate to the business. And I'll apply for a bank loan for the remaining $60,000. Banks want collateral for business loans, I say. Especially for first-time entrepreneurs. I know. My father takes a breath. That's what I want to talk about. The house, he explains, won't work. They still have a mortgage, not much, but enough that there isn't sufficient equity to secure a $60,000 loan. But your apartment, he says, leaning forward, you own it outright. It's worth more than you paid for it now, probably $160,000 or more. If you transfer the apartment to my name temporarily, I can use it as collateral for the loan. I feel something cold settle in my stomach. Transfer the apartment to your name, I repeat slowly, as collateral for your loan. Temporarily, he emphasizes. Just until the business is profitable. Give it 2 years, maybe 3 to be safe, and I'll pay off the loan and transfer the apartment back to you. Plus. He pauses for effect. Once I'm making real money, I'll buy you a second apartment. As a thank you. You'll end up with 2 properties instead of 1. 2 properties. The dream he's selling me while asking for the one I actually have. I look at my mother. She's watching me with that same hope and worry expression. She wants me to say yes. She wants her husband to have this one thing, this chance at meaning after 32 years of disappointment. I need to think about this, I say. My father's face falls briefly before recovering. Of course. Of course. Take a few days. But don't take too long, the territory won't be available forever. I drive home with my stomach churning. Transfer the apartment to his name. Use it as collateral. If the business succeeds, transfer it back plus buy a second one. If the business fails, the bank takes the collateral. That's what collateral means. It's not a symbolic gesture of faith. It's a guarantee. If the borrower can't pay, the lender takes the asset. My apartment wouldn't be, temporarily, in my father's name. It would be the safety net under his tightrope. If he fell, the net would catch him. But I'd be the one who wove it, and I'd fall straight through. He said, transfer it temporarily as collateral. But if the business failed, the bank would take the collateral permanently. There's no temporary when a loan defaults. He was asking me to make my apartment the safety net for his dream. If the net was needed, I'd fall through. I sit at my kitchen table that night, staring at the walls of my small apartment. My apartment. 11 years of work. The only security I have. My father wants to borrow it to chase a dream he's been chasing for 40 years. Part 2, the research. I do what I always do when facing uncertainty. I research. First, the franchise itself. It's real. Established. Not some obvious scam. They have a professional website, documented processes, franchisee testimonials, though those feel curated and overly positive. The franchise disclosure document is publicly available, and I download all 43 pages of it. The reading takes me 2 evenings. The franchise fee is indeed $45,000. Ongoing royalties are 8% of gross revenue, not profit, revenue. Marketing fund contributions add another 2%. So before my father pays rent, salaries, equipment costs, or himself, 10% of every dollar goes back to the franchisor. The projected profit margins of 30% start looking different when I run actual numbers. Gross revenue of $150,000 minus 10% to the franchisor is $135,000. Equipment maintenance, vehicle costs, insurance, supplies, marketing beyond the required fund contribution. Conservative estimates put those at $40,000 to $50,000 annually. If he hires any employees, labor costs explode. If he doesn't, he's doing all the cleaning himself at 59 years old. The franchise promised 30% profit margins. Real analysis suggested 15 to 20% after all costs, and that assumed experienced operators. My father had zero industry experience. He was trusting a sales brochure while asking me to risk my apartment. That's not a business plan. That's faith-based investing. I research franchise failure rates next. The statistics are sobering. Even with proven models, roughly 20% of franchises fail within the first 2 years. For first-time business owners with no industry experience, the failure rate is higher. Some studies suggest 30% or more. The cleaning services industry is competitive and labor-intensive. Success requires not just cleaning skills but sales ability, customer service excellence, employee management, if scaling up, and financial discipline. My father has managed people at his logistics job. But managing employees who report to someone above him is different from managing a business where every decision falls on his shoulders. He's never had to generate sales. Never had to market services. Never had to deal with customer complaints when there's no corporate hierarchy to absorb the blame. $60,000 in debt. No income except a reduced pension. 59 years old with no time to recover from failure. If the business collapsed, a real possibility, not a hypothetical one, he would owe $60,000 he couldn't pay. The bank would seize the collateral. My apartment. And I would have nothing. I find contact information for existing franchisees of this specific brand. Cold calling strangers to ask about their business experience feels awkward, but I do it anyway. 3 agree to talk to me. The first franchisee has been operating for 2 years. It's a lot harder than they make it sound in the presentations, she tells me. I work 60 hours a week, and I'm barely breaking even. The territory isn't as exclusive as they implied. There are other franchisees closer than I expected, and we end up competing for the same commercial contracts. I'm not failing, but I'm not thriving either. The second franchisee quit his corporate job to buy into the franchise 18 months ago. Biggest mistake of my life, he says flatly. I believed the earnings projections. I believed the support would be meaningful. The training was basic, the marketing materials are generic, and the proven system is just a binder of procedures that don't account for local market conditions. I'm trying to sell my territory now, taking a loss just to get out. The third franchisee has a different story. She's doing reasonably well. But when I ask about her background, she reveals she had 15 years of experience in the commercial cleaning industry before buying the franchise. I knew the business inside and out, she says. The franchise gave me a brand name and some operational systems, but I could have succeeded independently. I don't know if I'd recommend it for someone starting fresh. The learning curve is brutal, and the franchisor isn't as supportive as they claim. 3 franchisees. 2 struggling or failing. 1 succeeding because she already knew the industry. My father knows nothing about cleaning services. He's never run a business. He's nearly 60 years old. The reality takes shape in my mind like a photograph developing in a darkroom. The franchise isn't a scam. It's a real business with a real structure. But it's not the guaranteed success my father imagines. The projections are optimistic. The challenges are understated. The risks are real and substantial. A 59-year-old with no industry experience, no business background, and $60,000 in borrowed capital has a significant probability of failure. Not certain failure, nothing is certain, but significant enough that I would never make this bet with my own money. And he's not asking me to bet my money. He's asking me to bet my apartment. My only asset. My only security. The result of 11 years of discipline and sacrifice. He's not asking me to believe in him. He's asking me to guarantee his experiment with everything I have. I compile my research into a document. Franchise reviews from independent sources. Actual profit margin calculations. Failure statistics. The franchisee interviews, summarized without identifying information. A realistic assessment of what success would require and what failure would cost. Then I go back to my parents' house. My father is eager when he opens the door. He thinks I've come to say yes. I can see it in his face, the hope, the anticipation. We sit at the same kitchen table. I lay out my findings. The franchise reviews show mixed results. Many franchisees struggle. The franchisor has faced complaints about overstated earnings projections. The actual profit margins, after all costs and fees, are closer to 15 to 20% for experienced operators. Someone new to the industry would likely see even less, especially in the first year. About 20% of franchises fail within 2 years. For first-time business owners without industry experience, the rate is higher. The franchisees I spoke with, 2 struggling, 1 succeeding only because she brought 15 years of prior experience. My father's face changes as I speak. The hope drains away, replaced first by confusion, then by something harder. I'm not saying this can't work, I tell him. I'm saying it's risky. Very risky. And you're asking me to guarantee that risk with my apartment. If this fails, and the odds aren't trivial, I lose everything I've built. My only home. My only security. He's silent for a long moment. Then, you don't believe in me. The words land like stones. This isn't about belief, I say carefully. It's about risk assessment. I can believe you'll work hard. I can believe you'll give it everything you have. But that doesn't change the statistics. That doesn't change the franchisee experiences. That doesn't change what happens if a $60,000 loan goes into default. You sound like everyone else. His voice is bitter now. My whole life, people have told me to be realistic, to play it safe, to not take chances. My boss, my colleagues, people who never tried anything themselves. I thought my own son would be different. I try another approach. What if you started smaller? I ask. Don't buy the franchise. Start an independent cleaning business. Lower startup costs, no franchise fees, more flexibility. I'll help you with $5,000 as a gift. Not a loan, a gift. You can test the market without risking everything. If it works, you can expand. If it doesn't, you haven't lost $80,000, and I haven't lost my apartment. He shakes his head before I even finish. Small doesn't work. Independent businesses fail more often than franchises. Franchises have brand recognition, proven systems, marketing support. That's the whole point. The statistics don't support that for first-time owners. Statistics. He almost spits the word. You're talking about statistics while I'm talking about my life. My one chance. I've done my research too. I've talked to the franchisors' representatives. I've seen the success stories. This can work. I know it can work. I just need someone to believe in me. I just need my apartment as collateral. I offered $5,000. $5,000 is nothing. It's insulting. I'm not asking for pocket change. I'm asking for support. Real support. The kind that matters. I offered $5,000 to start small, test the market, reduce risk. He refused. Only the franchise would do. Only the big dream. Only the version that required my apartment as guarantee. He didn't want help. He wanted assurance that his downside would be my downside. I asked to see his business plan. He looks uncomfortable. The franchise provides everything. I don't need a separate plan. You're investing $80,000 and you don't have a written plan? Financial projections you've done yourself? Cash flow analysis? Marketing strategy? That's all in the franchise materials. They handle that. But have you done your own projections? Stress-tested the assumptions? Why would I? They've been doing this for 15 years. They know what works. I realize then that my father has done no independent analysis. He's trusting the franchisor's projections entirely. The projections designed to sell franchises. The projections the struggling franchisees told me were overstated. He wants to bet $80,000 and my apartment on a sales brochure. We argue for another hour. My mother tries to mediate, but she doesn't understand the numbers well enough to engage substantively. She just wants peace. She just wants her husband to be happy and her son to be cooperative. Finally, I ask the question that's been pressing on me since this conversation started. Why now? Why this specific opportunity? My father's frustration breaks through the surface. Because I'm running out of time, he says. His voice cracks slightly. 32 years. 32 years I gave to that company. 32 years of watching my ideas get ignored. Of promotions going to younger people with better connections. Of being called reliable, like it's a consolation prize. I'm 59 years old. In 10 years, I'll be 69. Too old to start anything. Too old to matter. This is my last window. My last chance to achieve something for myself. To leave something behind besides a "thank you for your years of service" plaque and a mediocre pension. He's almost pleading now. I don't want to die knowing I never tried. I don't want to spend my retirement knowing I was nothing but a cog in someone else's machine for 40 years. Is that so hard to understand? I do understand. That's what makes this so difficult. I've watched him shrink over the years. The excitement draining away, replaced by resignation. The complaints about work becoming more bitter, more defeated. The dreams becoming more desperate as the window for achieving them narrowed. He's not greedy. He's not malicious. He's trapped by a career that gave him stability but no meaning, by age that's closing doors faster than he can open them, by a lifetime of someday that finally demands to become now. He said, "This is my last chance before I'm too old." But being 59 doesn't make a bad investment good. It makes a bad investment more devastating. He'd have no time to recover. Neither would I. His deadline didn't change my apartment's value as collateral. "I understand why you want this," I tell him finally. "I really do. But I can't give you my apartment to fund a high-risk venture. If you lose everything, you have a pension and a house. If I lose my apartment, I have nothing. Your dream can't be secured by my security." My father stares at me for a long moment. Then he nods once, sharp and final, and walks out of the kitchen. Update 1. The freeze. 3 weeks pass. My father doesn't call. Doesn't text. When I call to check in, he answers in monosyllables and hands the phone to my mother within minutes. I visit once. He stays in the garage the entire time. My mother makes excuses. He's tired, he's stressed, the situation at work is difficult. But we both know what's happening. He's freezing me out. The family narrative shifts without anyone explicitly stating it. I become the son who doesn't believe in his father. The son who chose property over family. The son who crushed his father's dream. My uncle calls. He and my father have never been particularly close, but apparently this situation warranted a phone call. "Why won't you help your dad?" he asks. He's wanted this his whole life. All he's asking for is a little support. I try to explain the risks, the statistics, my research. My uncle interrupts. "He's your father. Sometimes you support family even when it doesn't make sense on paper." By giving him my apartment to risk on a venture that has a significant chance of failing? By showing some faith. That's what family does. I don't convince him. I'm not sure I could convince anyone who hasn't spent hours reading franchise disclosure documents and talking to struggling franchisees. 2 months pass. The silence calcifies into something harder. Family dinners become exercises in avoidance. My father speaks to my mother speaks to me, my father and I orbit each other like planets in separate gravity wells. The franchise opportunity slips away. Without my apartment as collateral, my father can't secure the loan. He goes back to his job at the logistics company, more bitter than before. The dream dies again. But this time, there's someone to blame. Dad said I crushed his dream. But his dream was a fantasy built on unverified projections and wishful thinking. I didn't crush anything. I just refused to fund the construction with my apartment. The dream crushed itself when exposed to basic due diligence. I tell myself this at night, in my apartment, staring at the ceiling. I tell myself I did the right thing. The responsible thing. The thing that protected both of us from catastrophic financial loss. I'm not sure I believe myself. The math supports my decision. The silence in my family suggests the math isn't everything. Update 2. The lawsuit. 6 months after the initial conversation, I'm scrolling through business news when a headline catches my attention. Cleaning franchise faces class action lawsuit from franchisees. I click through, already knowing what I'll find. The lawsuit alleges misrepresented earnings projections. Hidden fees not adequately disclosed in franchise documents. Territorial violations. Multiple franchisees sold overlapping territories, forcing them to compete for the same customers. Inadequate training and support. The franchisees joining the lawsuit claim they were sold a dream that the franchisor knew couldn't be delivered. I read the article twice. 3 times. Some of the franchisee quotes could have come from the people I interviewed 6 months ago. The projections were fantasy. The support was non-existent. I lost my life savings believing their numbers. Several franchisees have declared bankruptcy. The franchise's expansion has frozen as the lawsuit proceeds. The perfect opportunity my father wanted to invest in, the proven model, the guaranteed success, was rotten beneath the surface. 3 months after I refused, I read about the class action lawsuit. Misrepresented earnings. Hidden fees. Franchisees going bankrupt. The perfect opportunity was a trap dressed up in professional brochures. My apartment would have been collateral for a company being sued for fraud. I don't gloat. I don't call my father and say, "I told you so." I print the article. I give it to my mother during a quiet visit. "Please share this with Dad when you think the time is right," I say. I don't want to rub it in. I just want him to see. She reads the article at the kitchen table, her face going pale. "Oh," she says softly. "Oh no." Update 3. The thank you. A week after my mother shares the article, my father calls me. "I saw the article," he says. His voice is strange, subdued, flattened. About the franchise. I know. Long silence. I can hear him breathing. I would have lost everything. The words come slowly, like he's pulling them from deep water. Your apartment. My retirement savings. Everything. We would have. He stops. Starts again. I would have destroyed us. Both of us. I don't say anything. There's nothing to say. Thank you, he finally says, for not letting me. He thanked me eventually. After the article. After the lawsuit news. He said, you didn't let me lose everything. That thank you felt like a funeral and a birthday at once. His dream was dead. Our relationship was reborn. I don't know which feeling was stronger. The reconciliation isn't instant. My father's pride has taken a beating. He almost made a catastrophic mistake, and his 27-year-old son saw it when he didn't. That's not easy to swallow at 59. But slowly, things thaw. He starts calling again. Short conversations at first. Weather, sports, nothing substantial. Then longer ones. He asks about my work. I ask about his. He retires on schedule, not early. Takes the full pension instead of the reduced one. Finds that retirement isn't the liberation he expected, but isn't the prison he feared either. He's not living his dream. But he's not bankrupt. That has to be worth something. Update 4. The bookshelf. A year after the franchise conversation, I visit my parents' house on a Saturday afternoon. My father is in the garage. Not avoiding me this time, working. The garage has changed. Where there used to be scattered tools and forgotten projects, there's now an organized workspace. A sturdy workbench. Clamps and saws hung on pegboard. Wood shavings scattered across the concrete floor. He's building a bookshelf. It's simple, nothing fancy, but the joinery looks solid. Better than I expected. Learning from YouTube, he explains when he sees me looking. He sounds slightly embarrassed. Needed something to do. I walk around the workspace, taking it in. The organization. The care. The projects in various stages of completion. How long have you been doing this? 6 months or so. Started with small stuff. Picture frames. A cutting board. Getting more ambitious now. The bookshelf really does look good. Clean lines. Stable construction. The kind of thing you'd see in a store. You ever think about selling these? I ask. Online maybe. Start small, see if there's interest. My father pauses. Considers it. I can see him running calculations in his head. Costs, pricing, logistics. Maybe, he says finally. No franchises though. We both almost laugh. It's not quite a joke, but it's not quite not one either. Resolution. My father wanted to borrow my apartment to chase a dream he'd been chasing for 40 years. Every few years a new dream, every dream unfunded and unrealized. Restaurant. Auto shop. Furniture store. Consulting firm. Each one was going to be the thing that finally proved his worth, that finally freed him from the mediocrity he'd been trapped in for 3 decades. This time he found a franchise that promised everything he wanted to hear. Proven model. Training provided. Projected profits. Brand recognition. All it needed was $80,000 and my apartment as collateral. I said no. He stopped speaking to me. The family narrative painted me as the faithless son who crushed his father's dream. Then the franchise faced a lawsuit. Franchisees went bankrupt. The dream revealed itself as a nightmare in a brochure. Dad thanked me for not letting him destroy himself. That thank you took 6 months to arrive. I don't know if he would have succeeded with a different opportunity. I don't know if all his dreams were always doomed or if he just never found the right one. What I know is this dream would have cost my apartment. And his retirement savings. And probably our relationship when I blamed him for losing everything. Some dreams aren't worth chasing. Some last chances are last chances for a reason. My apartment is still mine. Dad is retired, making bookshelves, finding his way. We talk every week now. Neither of us mentions the franchise. It's the ghost in the room that we've agreed to ignore. Maybe someday he'll find a dream that doesn't require my collateral. Maybe that dream is bookshelves. Maybe it's nothing. Either way, my apartment stays mine. His dreams stay his. And we both stay standing. That's not the ending he wanted. But it's the ending we both survived. Last week, I helped him set up an Etsy account. He's listed 2 bookshelves and a custom cutting board. No sales yet, but there's been some interest. He's working on a coffee table now, More complex, better margins if he can sell it. It's small. Probably won't make him rich. Won't prove anything to anyone. But it's his. Built with his hands, risked with his money, dreamed with his time. No one else's apartment required. That's how it should have been all along.